One of the strangest consequences of the information age is that unlimited access to knowledge has not necessarily made people more thoughtful. For the first time in history, the average person has access to nearly the entire body of human knowledge from a device in their pocket. Philosophy, science, history, theology, psychology, political theory, first-hand perspectives from across the world, ideas that once required universities or libraries are now instantly available. You would expect this to produce more intellectual humility, more curiosity, more willingness to say, I may not fully understand this. Instead, public discourse is increasingly compressed into rigid conclusions, instant judgments, and simplified moral categories. Part of the reason is that deep thinking is difficult. Genuine thought requires time, uncertainty, self questioning, and the ability to hold conflicting ideas without rushing to resolve them. And as information becomes overwhelming, the mind naturally looks for shortcuts. Research on information overload suggests that as the volume of information increases, people rely more heavily on cognitive shortcuts, familiar narratives, and identity based interpretations to navigate reality efficiently. The paradox is that more information can produce less reflection. But there is another layer to this. Deep thinking often comes with social costs. Research on conformity and group identity shows that many people suppress complexity to preserve belonging within families, workplaces, friendships, and political communities. Nuanced or contradictory views can create tension, conflict, or subtle social penalties. In many environments, it is simply easier to pick a side, adopt the language of the group, and defend it consistently than to remain openly uncertain. Certainty is socially efficient. You can see this shift not only in individuals, but in media itself. There was a time when television, newspapers, and even talk radio regularly exposed audiences to competing perspectives within the same space. A single show might feature ideological opponents in direct conversation. Debate and disagreement were part of the culture. Now, much of the media ecosystem is organized around reinforcement. Algorithms reward outrage, certainty, and emotional clarity because those things drive engagement. Entire networks, podcasts, and online communities increasingly function as closed narrative systems where the same assumptions are continuously repeated and validated. The fragmentation of media has not created as much diversity of thought as many expected. In many ways, it has created parallel realities. Judgment becomes attractive because judgment simplifies. Once something is labeled entirely good or entirely evil, the difficult work of thinking largely ends. Complexity collapses into certainty. Political figures become symbols instead of human beings. Entire groups become caricatures. Disagreement becomes moral contamination rather than an opportunity to examine reality more carefully. And the deeper issue may not simply be misinformation, but the psychological comfort of certainty itself. In a world flooded with endless perspectives and competing truths, certainty offers relief. It removes both the intellectual burden of complexity and the social burden of standing apart from the group. Dostoevsky, Fromm, and other existential thinkers understood this long before the internet existed. Many people do not simply want freedom of thought, they also want freedom from the exhausting responsibility that thought requires. Because real freedom is not just access to information, it is the ability to remain open in the presence of uncertainty without immediately retreating into simplistic conclusions. That may be one of the hardest demands modern life places on people now.